the world is very focused on what they think physically is a pandemic, but the the greatest pandemic right now is spiritual. It's really um, very well worded in Scripture. So we're gonna go to Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. It was dealing again at that time with the nation of Israel, who were losing God's Spirit, and He was going to leave them unprotected from their enemies, the unbelieving nations. And therefore, it's written here, it says, God's words, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also reject you from being my priest," talking to those that were spiritually there for the nation of Israel. "Since you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children." So that is a good example of the nation of Israel losing God's blessing because of being reproved for their spiritual heresy against Him. And today, the world of mainstream Christianity is getting the same hit because of its heresy, because it's not following the true belief in Jesus Christ. It's following secular Christianity, the money changing in the temple. And unfortunately, God's blessing is totally being removed as a correction from these groups so that they wake up, because there are true believers in amongst them. So the biggest plague that we're dealing with again is lack of knowledge. If we go into Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13, it says, "Therefore my people are gone into captivity." Well, certainly the mainstream group of what is called believers in Jesus Christ are in captivity. They are in secular debt to these legal authorities around them, because they are in lack of knowledge, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory, and their multitude, and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. Interesting, it brings up some very, very interesting terms here. It says, "Therefore hell hath enlarged herself." Now, in legal, hell meant the debtors of the king, in like a dungeon, a pen, a cage. And again, you only get yourself into the cage with the pen. That's why it's called a pen. And therefore, it's the only way that you could sign yourself by consent into that. And it's only going to be your ability spiritually to remove yourself out of that mind confusion that has happened with the majority of the audience of the world out there. And those that are trying to come out of her will have to remove something. Remember, the government are not mind readers, so if you've pushed play in the movie, you're going to need to remove God's property that you've used to trespass on Caesar's out of theirs. And so it is going to require faith. Not bad faith, but good faith. When you're in the legal, trespassing on Caesar's public title with your private God-given name, you've actually placed yourself in as the surety and the debtor for that. And there's only one way to remedy that, and it's to come out. So you can't come out if you don't take something out with you and leave Caesar's title untainted. Leave it on its own. It was not there for your private gain. So unfortunately, again, it's the world of the material world, of man's world, Satan, that is in lack of knowledge and therefore have come into captivity or became a debtor. So you were never to take that position, and the remedy is already here, but you have to be able to perceive that from the scriptures and what we've been going over in the last several videos.